Long shot, but I got the reach. Pop lock, now I'm off the leash. Mic drop, I ain't gotta preach. I just do what comes natural. 5-star, everything I see. Live lost, no apology. Take charge, no one can compete. I just do what comes natural.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Can We Talk Sports? I am so excited for this show tonight. We're really going to get in deep. We have a professional certified coach, Miss Natasha Pierre, that's going to take us all through mental illness. We're going to be really deep tonight, and I'm so excited. And I'm Karen, your host. I consider myself as a community sport parent because I love all my babies in DeSoto, Texas, and I consider myself as being the sports mom. And I'm an entrepreneur too, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
And this is your girl, Kawashka. I believe I consider myself now, I'm going to add on justice sports mom. Like, I love justice.
Okay. Carmen? You want to go?
No, you go, Shannon. I'm last.
All right, this is your girl, Shannon. What's up, everybody? I'm an entrepreneur, an author, a mother, a wife, a grandmother, and I'm a advocate for character and domestic violence. So I speak on behalf of those who have been through domestic violence. And I'm a big advocate for character building for athletes. That is so crucial. So,
Very good. Well, I'm Carmen, aka Mama D, and I'm a sports mom and definitely a community mom. And I am with Shannon, like mental health and just supporting our kids and advocating for them to do what's right. Is very strong in my book. I think Kawashka said it last time, integrity, and having a spirit of excellence over everything you do. These kids nowadays, they just want to do something quick and they're done and move on, but have a spirit of excellence. Take some pride in what you do. So absolutely. So you guys, if you're following us on IG, Facebook, YouTube, you can follow us at Can We Talk Sports. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, you guys. Hit that button, subscribe. And if you're joining us on Facebook, be sure to like us and share the video so you can share it with your friends and invite them to join us at any time.
Absolutely. All right, ladies. What y'all got going on? It's Thursday.
Oh,
Yes. What you got?
It's Friday Eve. I cannot wait till Friday.
Oh, what's happening on Friday? Oh,
Just Friday.
Yeah.
My
Friday. Yeah.
y'all don't see my y'all see me crying.
Oh, what's wrong?
Jaden's in college.
Oh.
Congratulations.
She's 15 minutes away.
Shannon, did you cry?
She's 15 minutes away.
Okay, so listen. I didn't cry first. Actually, my husband cried first.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, because we were up. And I said, babe, help me do this. And he goes, no. And he goes in the room. And I was like, what? So I came home. I said, babe, what's wrong? He just started crying. He's like, I'm not going to help you help her leave me.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like,
wow.
So, yeah, it was cool. So I didn't cry until after I got home. And it was the realization of, even though she's 15 minutes away, it was just that thought of, wow, you know,
She's on her own.
Right. And she got emotional. So then like 3 days later, she comes by the house. She walks in the door because she, you know, she want to come eat, y'all. So she walks in the door and I had to do a double look. And I did like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, you shifted. Like she shifted to the point where she's not my little girl anymore. Usually you wait, usually they shift maybe a month, 2, 3 months later. Like this was overnight. Like her whole countenance looked college, if that makes sense.
Wow. Confident.
Yeah, then that's what really hit me. I'm like, I'm booing, oh my gosh. But yeah.
Oh wow.
Now.
Girl.
She gotta ask you about coming in and going out, none of that.
Right.
No curfew, none of that.
I put a tracker on the car. Don't play with me.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, I said it, and I want somebody to message me and say something. I will put a tracker on the car. Don't play.
I think when my daughter went off to college, you know how you put those rules in place to where you can't do this until you 18, you can't do this until you out the house. Well, when she came home the first semester, I was like, what's that on your back? A tattoo. You said I couldn't do it.
Now I'm 18.
I'm 18 now.
Yeah. When she turned 18, she went and got her nose pierced. And but I was fine. But she was like, Mom, I'm gonna get it cut. I was like, okay, cool. You in college. But the thing that I told her is this. Listen, I said, I know you're gonna go out and have fun. That's cool. I said, but just use wisdom. Don't be out at 3 in the morning coming across town by yourself. You know what I mean? Just don't be somewhere you're not familiar with and you haven't really hung out. And, you know, just use wisdom. And if you go with a bunch of girls, make sure y'all stay together. That's it. You know, and so I know you're gonna go. You know,
right?
They're gonna do it. Jordan did it. My oldest did it. That joker was in all kind of clubs when he left this out. I was like, really? You was where? I was at the frat party, mama, and I was at the whoop whoop whoop. I was like, wait a minute, that's for an education. What you talking about? So, but I know she's gonna do it. But I just use wisdom. Times have changed, and like you know, the things that we have to teach, and I'll move on. We have to keep her, especially young ladies. Pay attention. Make sure nobody's following you. And if somebody is following you, do not go home. Go to a store, to a gas
station.
Now, if you're coming close to the house, come home. I know my husband's gonna be standing outside. They might not want to follow you to the house. But other than that, if you're by yourself, don't go to your place. Go somewhere else. Call us. Let somebody know you're being followed. But pay attention because times have changed. So my thing is just pay more attention. If you're
I just believe, Shannon, with the girls is totally different because my 2 older girls, of course, Destiny and Kiara, they are in high school. So Kiara's now a freshman. And then, of course, Destiny is a sophomore. And I think like the first day, second day, I'm like, where they at? Where y'all at? What y'all doing? What, high school. When I wasn't like that with the, with the boys, the older boys, but it's just totally different. So I can imagine how you felt for college. Like, I got to graduate high school first with them. Like literally, listen, Kiara had, what was that, Miss Kiara, the other night? She had a volleyball now.
Volleyball match.
Yes. And so we got off the live and it was like 9 something. And I'm like, where's Kiara?
Yeah.
Oh my God. As soon as we got off of it, I ran up to that school, drove up to that school actually. And come to find out, varsity's still playing at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they play late.
Right.
Yes.
But he's on the freshman team. They got, they all do the same freshman, JV, and then varsity. So I'm sitting up at the school by myself. I'm like, I'm not leaving. I said, oh Lord, we can't do this. We can't do this. Ooh, we can't do this. I don't know what you're gonna do with me, Lord, because I don't know. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. And it's just crazy because I wasn't like that with the boys.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of times, especially in volleyball, the coach will require the JV, like the freshman team and the JV team, to
Spend.
stay and watch the varsity so they can learn. So
Exactly.
yeah, they're there till 10 o'clock at night easily.
Woo! Y'all
Yeah.
pray for me.
And even though she's 15 minutes away, still, it's just still, so I'm glad she did stay close for right now and get used to it. And then gradually, because I don't know, 8-9 hours, I don't know. I'd be like, Jesus, help.
Well, I got you some help because we got a mental health specialist coming on, and she may need to go ahead and counsel all of us.
And you got your list together.
Right.
I know, right?
So let's get ready to bring on our special guest with over 20 years of experience in providing coaching, teaching, development to individuals, small businesses, and corporations. She has successfully assisted audience across the country with gaining clarity in employee strategies for their personal and professional lives. Let's welcome to the show Miss Natasha Pierre.
Yes.
Well,
Natasha, we're so excited. Listen, your first client tonight is going to be Shannon.
Washington.
Oh, wow. Really? No, I think it's Kawasaka. Okay, it's her than me.
But I understand because my niece is starting college as a freshman, and fortunately she's about 30 minutes away from me, and I'm kind of wrestling with this. College? What? I want to be up on the campus, but I know I can't be. So I understand.
See?
Absolutely. So Natasha, we play a game. It's called Would You Rather? Okay. So I'll start with the first question. Would you rather have a home? Would you rather have the worst home in the nicest neighborhood or the nicest home in the worst neighborhood?
The worst home in the nicest neighborhood.
Because you can always fix
I can always fix it up. Yes.
I got you. Yes. I agree.
If they let you stay. Okay, I got one. Would you rather be cute and dumb or ugly and smart?
Ugly and smart. Ugly and smart. I'll find a way to get cute.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Just like that.
Yeah, you could pay for that, huh?
That's right.
Would you rather talk to animals or another foreign language?
Wow. Animals.
Wow.
Because they are connected to the earth. They're connected to nature. They've probably seen some things, have resources. Yeah. I mean, I'll learn a foreign language or I'll use Google Translate for that. Yeah.
Okay. I've been learning animals lately too.
Mm-hmm.
So would you rather marry someone who already has everything? Or would you rather marry someone who doesn't and you guys grow and have it together?
Wow. That's a hard one because it really depends on the character of the person. Because someone who already has everything might just want to focus on me getting my everything. And but then if we're growing together, there could be some shared experiences that causes us to bond. So wow, let's just go with the one who has everything already. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't need to start over. I need to just move right on in on what you
Well, you know what? Now watch this, because that's a two-way situation because you be with someone who has everything and then they're stingy. Right?
Yes.
Right.
I brought all this to the table, so
Exactly.
it's really not yours.
Yours.
Versus if you with someone who doesn't, but like you grow, there's an appreciation because, like you said, you're building together, you're experiencing new things together. So that's kind of a interesting scenario, especially when somebody who has everything and he could be like, this is mine.
True.
Right.
True.
Right.
You know?
Or be
You
done
don't-
with you
You
and
don't
then
have a
keep.
ground to stand on if you move in his house, his car, his money, his life.
True.
What
Yeah.
ground do you really have to stand on per se? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it can go both
That's
ways.
good.
I'm just thinking of some scenarios. Oh,
Yes.
God,
Yes.
Mhm.
it can go
It truly
both ways.
depends on the
Yeah.
character of the person.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
That
yes.
was a good one.
Yes.
That's a good question.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, Miss Natasha, we are so excited for you being here. Mental health is really it's a tough one,
Mhm.
especially in the sports arena. It's tough, period. But when it comes to athletes, it's even tougher because they go through so much. One minute they love you, next minute they don't love you.
Mhm.
They go through, was I not good enough? Why didn't I make the team? They go through the 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 life of the money. You know, one minute you didn't have money, now you got money, and everybody want to be your best friend. People are only using you because of your money. They go through peer pressure.
Yes.
So help us understand or kind of get into the challenges of mental health.
This is an everyone issue. I like to say that, 1 in 5 people live with a mental illness, but 5 in 5 people have a mind. So if you have a mind, your mental health must be a concern for you. Fortunately, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, mental health has been thrusted into the spotlight, into the forefront. Everyone is talking about it in various ways. I'm grateful for that. And there's still room for even more conversations to be had. So I'm really grateful to be with you all tonight. Mental health is, I think what I've seen over the last 3 years is that as a society, we have not given any attention to our mental health. We've taken care of our bodies, our physical health. We take care of our teeth, we take care of our financial health. But when it comes to our emotional and psychological well-being, we are malnutritioned in major ways, major areas. And that was evidenced with the pandemic. Our ability to bounce back, our ability to be resilient, our ability to love, care, and endure being around people, our family members that we haven't been around in a while, our ability to adapt to change. All of those things were threatened, and we were forced to pivot, and many people didn't pivot very well.
Absolutely true.
Wow.
That's good.
That's good. I think I was listening to a video and it was saying something about it's time for sports to accept their responsibility when it comes to this issue. And back this summer, I was in a room with the NFL Players Association. I think she might have been the VP. And I think just now they're actually considering having a professional counselor as a part of the team, as a part of their employees. And I'm like, we probably need this from little school all the way up if it's important. I know for me, I always looked at it as, can I even afford it? Because it was always so expensive, and most Black people, that and a dentist was two things. Like, okay, let me put on the back burner. I don't know if we have the money for this, but and that's maybe one of the reasons why it has gone so long protected or unnoticed. And so but I do think it is time for sports to accept their responsibility and show how important it is for mental illness is in the sports world.
It's overdue. It's overdue. By the time someone gets to the NFL, to the NBA, to the Major League Baseball, understand that they have been told that they are gifted and special from birth or from Little League, Pee Wee League. So their entire life, they have been bred really by society to be amazing in this sport. What happens when they experience an injury? What happens when they're traded? That's professional. Let's go to college. What happens if you're not drafted? What happens if you don't get the scholarship to college? The conversations that build self-esteem, self-value have been absent throughout the entire life cycle of an athlete's life. And then we question why they're having a tough time adjusting because they didn't get the contract renewed, or because they didn't get the scholarship, or because they weren't drafted. We never really prioritized their emotional and psychological well-being. We just wanted to make sure they were healthy enough to play and that their grades were good. And so now what we're seeing is, hey, we've got to take care of the whole person, not just the person who can dunk the ball or run the football or hit the ball, but we need to take care of their emotions, their psychological well-being, address whether they're feeling grief, address the changes that they're experiencing in their lives as well. And that hasn't happened.
That goes way back, because when you hit on something, because you have to deal with, because what we do is me and my husband deal with athletes and character building. And so when sitting down talking to them, if you talk to them long enough, they'll take you all the way back to where it all started. And the thing is, sports, I feel like coaches and the life of sports, they don't have time for all that.
Right.
Like you said, can you hit? Can you run? Can you jump? Can you put the ball in the hoop? You know what I'm saying? Can you put butts in our seats? They don't have time to really deal with the psyche of that kid, and really get to know that athlete. They only know them at a certain level, but if you really sit down, a lot of them have some stories. Your mouth will drop. You'll be like, wait, what? We've on the show. I'll never forget. We interviewed. Remember the tennis? Was it the tennis?
Yeah.
Interviewed.
Yes.
Miss Natasha.
Yes.
Sitting there like, wait, what? Because
Yes.
better, you wouldn't think it. And then she talked about how playing tennis and no one knew what she was going through. And then I think when she finally had a breakdown, but when she finally had her nervous breakdown or whatever it was, she started talking about how she had been molested. I mean, she was going down the line, and we were sitting there like,
yeah,
what? And she goes, no one never knew.
Yeah.
No one never asked me. She goes, they didn't pay attention to my emotions. They, if I lost the game and I was sad, they thought I was sad because I lost. They didn't know I was having a bad. She's like, no one paid attention. And I feel like no one pays attention to the athletes.
And we saw this in the last 2 years with Simone Biles and with Naomi Osaka.
Yes.
We saw how the public responded to them wanting to take a break for their mental health. Now, here we are in the middle of the pandemic where every television station has been touting mental health as being important. And now we have two of the best athletes in the world saying, I need to take a break for me. And the backlash that they received, of course, I believe race played into that. I believe the fact that they were women also played into it, and that they have been performing at such a high level for so long that they were expected to suck it up. I mean, come on, you're a professional athlete. And this is also what we're seeing in the NBA, in the MLB, in NFL, with WNBA. Listen, you've been playing sports at a high level all your life. Suck it up. You should be able to handle the pressure. But the reality is that the world has changed significantly since this pandemic began. People are dealing with compounded grief, dealing with loss in so many areas. Have we been addressing it? In my opinion, I don't know how we could lose 1 million people in less than 2 years and grief conversations not be happening all over our society. I don't understand how that is. Right. And if you think about it, if ever there's a recall on a car, recall on lettuce, it's all over the news. Everyone knows about it. But here we are, people are grieving on top of grieving on top of grieving, and we're telling them, just get back to work.
Yeah.
Get back on the court.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. So, Natasha, there are so many misconceptions about mental health.
Yes.
Like, what is the one misconception that disturbs you the most? Like, it just really stands out to you?
Ability. And that's personal to me, because I see it all the time. I've experienced it as well. I'm very open with the fact that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder over 20 years ago. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety, panic disorder. That's something that I share openly, and I'm going to keep sharing until it's no longer brave. But I know that I have encountered, despite my accomplishments, despite my successes and my wins, there are times that I've still encountered people who question my ability to lead, who question my ability to exercise sound judgment and strategy because of a diagnosis. My LinkedIn and social media direct messages and inbox are stories from people who are in, enviable positions, and they're afraid to share their mental health story and journey because they're afraid that they'll be passed over for a promotion. They're receiving, the backlash, the microaggressions, the passive aggressions, the intentional gaslighting, so that they're almost to the point of being driven to resign. So the fact that our society is simultaneously saying, yeah, take care of your mental health, but at the same time, we don't trust you because you're crazy. Those two things don't go together. And I know just from experience that there are many people, that 1 in 5 people living with a mental illness, that's 1 in 5 people who have been diagnosed. That's 1 in 5 people who've come forward and said yes. After the pandemic, I think that there are more people living with depression and anxiety and experiencing panic than ever before. And, there's no safe space professionally for them to share that.
Wow.
So you're asking,
Natasha.
Oh, go ahead, Natasha.
Okay, yeah, because kind of explain to the viewers, like, what exactly is mental illness? Is mental illness depression? Is mental illness anxiety? Or what causes mental illness? Like, break it down so they can truly understand what is it, or how do you get it? Because you say you was diagnosed with it.
Yes.
Okay.
So mental health, again, that's every human. If you have a mind, you've got to take care of your mental health. That's your emotional and psychological well-being, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world, how you relate to the world. Mental illness is something that is diagnosed by a professional, by a psychiatrist, psychologist, a nurse practitioner. Includes things like depression, panic, anxiety, as well as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder. And here's the thing about mental illness. You've got to self-disclose in order for it to be diagnosed. Of course, there's some symptoms that can be observed by a clinician if you are experiencing paranoia, hallucinations, things like that. But again, the individual has to state it. When it comes to mental illness, the verdict on how it manifests varies. Some people say it's hereditary, and I can agree with that, especially when there are multiple family members that have a mental diagnosis. But it's also that it can be the result of our experiences. I always say that trauma is the gateway drug. Trauma, experiencing loss, grief, death, seeing violence, losing a family member, molestation, abuse, all of those things in childhood can create trauma, can create sadness, which is a normal human response. But if left too long without support, without therapy, without any treatment, grief and sadness becomes depression. Just like post-traumatic stress disorder, I personally do not believe that's a mental illness. I think it's a human response to a distressing event or experience. So whether you were in combat or you were chased by a dog or you were in a plane crash, a human will respond to a distressing situation in a way that keeps them safe from experiencing that again. They may also experience intrusive thoughts, anxiety, panic, etc. It is now that we know that there are events and experiences and genetics, hereditary, that can impair a person's emotional well-being. There needs to be more conversations about it. We also need to look at generational trauma in certain ethnic groups and how the way we respond. Karen, when you mentioned the way that Black people respond to mental illness, sometimes it's about the cost, but also as a people, we've been told to suck it up. We've been told to be strong. And as parents, generationally, our forefathers, our grandparents, great-grandparents instilled in us, especially in the men, that you cannot show weakness because this world will eat you up. So I don't care how you're breaking down inside, you suck it up. You talk about that stuff at home. We keep family business at home. And so Black people talking about mental health is relatively new, and we're getting comfortable with it.
I think I was seeing a video and it was saying sometimes, for most injuries are things that you can see. And so mental illness is something that you can't see. You just have to experience it. And so I remember my brother, he had came to stay with us, and he wanted to bring his dogs. And we was like, no, can't bring your dogs here, so we let him come to try to find a job and try to start a new life. And at that time, I had told my husband, anytime you change the direction of a person's life, you have to be willing to stick it out, because you just changed what they would have been raised. So anyway, he ended up going back to Arkansas. But while he was here, he had told me that he wanted to kill himself. And so for me, I'm just like, no, we don't do that. No, that ain't, I rebuke that. No, that's not something we do. And then we even heard that, you kill yourself, you automatically go to hell, just all those type of things. And so my grandmother passed. And after my grandmother passed, she was like the stability of the family. I even broke when my grandmother passed. And so after my grandmother passed, I don't know what happened, but something happened in my brother where he went to beat his dogs. The things that he held on to as being precious to him, he went to beat them. And he actually whooped the little girl, and they took him to jail. And, we started reaching out to him, and we were just saying, we love you, And while he was in jail, he must have been experiencing some psychotic things. And they had him in a padded cell. They took him out of the padded cell and they put him in a regular jail cell, and they gave him a sheet, and he hung himself. They say he hung himself. For me, I just don't, I'm just struggling with even believing that, because the type of person he was, but they said he hung himself, And so we did end up having to fight in court, because if they knew he was on a psychotic break, they shouldn't have never gave him the sheet. And then, so at one point in the trial, they had record that I think he might have told me how he would sit down and put boo-boo on his face in order for them to think that he's crazy so he could get out or something like that. And so the guy was like, well, Karen, anybody that will go to that measure has some kind of psychotic thing, something going on with their mind. And for us, we was like, no, that's my brother. He just acting crazy, but never even think about that was a form of mental illness. I mean, never, because nobody in our family ever had it. Never even, but it was something that we could not see and didn't even know how to even help him. So I'm so glad.
It's kind of like what Natasha said, you, especially as Blacks, man, you better pray that devil out and keep going. Like, that's what we're taught, right? And Shade Bose and all of that, and put oil on them, and then you keep moving. And so it was more for that, the bipolar and the mental health. That was more like, man, we don't do all of that. That's what we're taught. Yeah. That's what we're taught, and that's why the response, Karen, was, "Oh, that's my brother. We're gonna pray for him.
He's gonna be okay,"
and not pay attention. But it's interesting because for me, especially when my kids started playing, I always started to pay attention because it wasn't just it's not about praying your hands. It's like pay attention to your kid. And even my second oldest that went through a lot dealing with his knee surgery, man, when you say I was paying attention, it was like I could sleep with one eye open listening for him. Like, I was paying that much attention. What's wrong? Why you look like that today? What's going on? Where you find that today? And so, but it wasn't until I think a lot of the awareness happened was when the actress, her son killed himself. Do you remember? That was it. Just
Regina King.
Regina King.
That right there was like, okay, wait, what? And then the cheerleader who jumped. That right there, and it was, I mean, we were already waking up to it, but those two made you go, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, there was also a Miss USA.
That was Miss USA, yeah. That worked for, was it like E.T. or? Yeah.
I think what we all as a society need to recognize is each person deals with pain, loss, trauma differently. For the vast majority of people, you know what, they get in a car accident today, they're back driving by this afternoon. For some people, they never want to get in a car again. It becomes a fear for them. And those fears, when left untreated, unprocessed, becomes a fear, a phobia, a post-traumatic stress. When it comes to suicide, I tell people that you are fortunate if you have never, ever had a suicidal thought. You're fortunate if you have never been so low in your life where you contemplated that, you know what, it might be easier for me to go. Understand that when a person gets to that place, they have lost all hope that things can get better. They have tried everything. They have spoken to everyone. They've, tapped into every resource. And they're so low that they just feel like, you know what, maybe life will be better if I'm not here. My goal, my life, is to ensure that no one that crosses my path ever gets that low, that they never get to a place where they don't have hope, just maybe possibly tomorrow will bring the relief from the pain that they seek. And it's not for us to decide and be like, wait, you getting depressed over, a torn ACL? You getting depressed because you lost your home? It's foreclosure. You'll get another home. You're depressed because you lost a baby. I mean, you're young. You can, you'll make another one. It's not about that. It's about the pain that that individual is feeling. And sometimes we overestimate our strength. And we take, okay, this person died and that person died and I lost this job. I didn't get that promotion. My business took a hit, got injured here. And we've got compounded issues that we've never addressed because we're told to be strong. We're told to suck it up. We're told to handle it. And then there's one seemingly light thing that causes a break in reality. And that's when people say, well, my God, I didn't even think that they were hurting that bad. Last year or a couple years ago, I posted 12 pictures of myself smiling. And in each one of the pictures, I tagged them: insomnia, depression, panic, anxiety. Because when someone sees me smile in a picture, that is 1/16th of a second.
Mm-hmm.
What about the other 23 plus hours of my day? You see someone on Facebook, yeah, they look happy. Yeah, they're on vacation. That's a moment. What are they experiencing away from the Facebook fantasy and the Instagram illusion? That's where we need to be paying attention.
That's good. We have a lot of parents, like we're all sports moms. Like, what's some information you can give us, or what should we as parents be looking for in our children or in our students or our athletes, that would be a red flag to say, oh, okay, maybe we need to get some help?
Great question. I think first, parents need to recognize that if you have more than one child, each child can be different. You know, with my siblings, we're all different. Same parents, same household, we're all different. We respond to things different. So you may need to pay attention to each child differently. I remind parents to place what you want for the child aside when it comes to sports. You know, I've had to tell parents, like, yeah, he does not want to play basketball anymore. Let him run track. Or he doesn't want to do football anymore, you know, ban or whatever it is, because what the child wants is more important. You know, when it comes to sports, I think the first thing is you got to know your child. You've got to know when your child is behaving different. You should be able to notice, okay, they normally put on that left shoe first, but today they did the right one. Or they normally wear those lucky socks and today they didn't. Or normally they want to ride with that friend, but when I mention that friend's name, now they don't want to be with them. What's going on there? What's happening there? You know, coaches, you know, for the most part are great. And we also know that some coaches, especially in some high schools and colleges, they're driven by their own metrics, their own KPIs, their own pressures from their bosses. And so, yeah, is a child just complaining about playing time because they haven't practiced as much and the coach called them out? Or are they complaining because, you know, there's a real issue between the coach and the child? When it comes to behaviors, number one sign is, you know, a child losing interest in something that they once enjoyed, or people they once enjoyed hanging around with. Why is that? Changes in behavior, changes in mood. Those are indicators. If there has been any life event, baby, loss, death, moving, divorce, I don't care what it is, get that child in counseling. We don't know what we don't know. You may think that he said he was fine with, you know, going in between my home and his dad's home, but now he doesn't want to play soccer anymore. What's that about? Or I didn't think he was that close to my uncle. Well, maybe now this is the first time they've come face to face with death, and now they have questions. So sometimes, listen, worst case scenario, you go into therapy and there's nothing to talk about. Everything is great. Congratulations. Best case scenario is you find an area of opportunity to strengthen their resilience. That's the issue with our children right now. They aren't resilient. And the only finger pointing that there is to the parents. Our generation, my generation, we wanted to give our children everything. And so that introduced the participation trophies and everybody gets a certificate. No, that's not life. So when you finally get told you didn't make the team, you're not on varsity, you are not starting, you lose it? No, that means try harder or find another sport or go to music or go to dance or go to whatever else. The resilience that our children need to be able to handle the stressors of life, many of them don't have it, and that's our job. That's our job.
Now I just have one question. Why is counseling so expensive? Because what about those families that can't afford it? Like they really want to get their kids to counseling and they can't afford it. I know ministry counseling is tough, and I'll tell you why. Because they no offense to pastors and leaders, please hear my heart, but they sugarcoat. They don't go to the depth of it. It's like they only hear what they want to hear, and then they give you a scripture. Well, God said. Okay, we know what God said. I'm not negating that. So then the person still, because I've been one that's been there, and I'm like, you still didn't deal with what I'm dealing with. Like you kind of covered it, but the only way you can go to them is if you're a member of their church. So why is counseling so expensive if we're talking about dealing with mental health?
And this is a conversation that I've had with my mental health clinicians, and I support them in this. Mental health counseling, psychotherapy, seeing a psychiatrist is expensive because it is a medical field, and they deserve to be paid as well as a doctor for a physical ailment, because mental health is health. The challenge is, with insurance companies. The challenge is with ensuring that their providers, they're available. I think last year the statistic was there are 52 counties in not even 52 counties, 52 cities in America where there isn't at least one psychiatrist. So I know here in Florida, there's at least a 3-month wait to see a psychiatrist, and that's someone who can diagnose, someone who can prescribe, etc. There's a wait for it. I know that since the pandemic, there's been some initiatives to help people, subsidize their therapy and subsidize seeing a psychiatrist. But this is something that requires our attention in the same way that we subsidize someone being able to get a physical at the start of school. We need to be able to ensure that there is funding for a child or for anyone who needs to see a therapist. And when it comes to spiritual counseling, Christian counseling, I am hard, and in my area, the faith leaders know I am hard on them. Because from 2017, I've been telling them to make room for mental health clinicians in your congregation. You do Bible. Okay, or you do Quran, or you do whatever. You are not a mental health counselor. So I've had pastors tell me, Natasha, you're only experiencing that because you need to fast and pray, build up your faith. Well, what does that do for the intrusive thoughts that I'm having? What does that do for the times that I'm experiencing anxiety and you tell me be anxious for nothing? That's cute. I still have anxiety. You tell me just read the Bible. Okay, but I'm having so many thoughts that I can't concentrate. And I just read the same Psalm 23, verse 1, 10 times. We've got to make room in the same way that churches and faith communities have a, stop smoking program or nutrition program or divorce program. There's got to be a mental health program. There's got to be support groups for that. Because in my opinion, this is why people left churches in droves during the pandemic, because they realized that the needs that they had, the needs that they needed to be met, weren't being met. People need support. People need to be heard. People need real help in real ways, and just fast and pray, be anxious for nothing, think on things that are lovely. That's not enough when I just lost 5 people in a fire. Or I'm going through foreclosure. My wife just got laid off. My child has special needs. Someone got a diagnosis. I need more than that. People need more than that.
Wow. Isn't it where some of the therapists, they have to do so many community hours or something like that, and I don't know if it's free or the cost is less expensive.
Those are the when they're interning, and I know during the pandemic we're still kind of in it, but during 2020 and 2021, I worked with a lot of therapists and counselors in my area, because I had many college students reaching out to me on Instagram saying, I need help. And that college age, You don't have the kids insurance like you did, but you don't have your own yet. You're in that in-between phase. And so many counselors did sliding scales, and some are still doing that so that people can afford it. Many open up for group counseling. So there's 3 or 4 people in a session and they can share and talk, because that's really what people need. I know that there's a lot of money being pumped into our society, especially every time there is a tragedy, every time there's a school shooting, there's money pumped into society. But is it getting to the zip codes? Is it getting to the people who need it most? In my opinion, it is not.
Kawasaka, I see your brain over there just clicking. See,
I love
see
you, Shannon.
Huh?
Let's go back to the church. Okay. Now you stated that you mentioned to the pastors regards to bringing in, therapists. My question to the therapist: would you come in for free?
I think, and I know some therapists who, just as part of being in the congregation, they either lead the mental health ministry or they lead the support group for their church, and that's something that they give. Now, here's the thing. The demand for therapists right now is so high that I know some people that are working 12 and 14-hour days just to meet the demand, just because there's a need for it, just because people are exhibiting symptoms of compounded stress, compounded grief, compounded trauma, and they're doing it. So I think if churches, faith communities open up for therapists to come in, that can be a resource for people who attend those congregations, because it's needed. Where I'll show you where the mental health issues are spilling out. It's spilling out on the job. It's spilling out with bosses, managers driving their employees nuts. We know that it's also on kids' games, because there was the recent shooting. People are, I don't know if you remember, might be dating myself here. You remember pressure cookers?
Yeah.
The last 3 years has been a pressure cooker for many people.
Yes.
Their worlds got turned upside down. It's a pressure cooker. And just one little thing, you take that nozzle off the top without, or try to open it without letting it cool off, and they blow. And that's we're seeing the road rage. We're seeing people acting out in Starbucks because, they didn't get the oat milk creamer that they asked for. Those aren't mental illnesses. Those are mental health issues. That's stress, that's frustration, that's overwhelm, that's grief. There's a saying that I sat with my anger long enough to know that it was grief.
Right. But see, Natasha, sorry. But see, this is how we do this. We keep saying, stay out your emotions. You're telling them to stay out the emotions, but then you're saying they need help for their emotions. Which one is it? You can't, which one,
It's emotional regulation.
Right, but you got to make your mind up. Stay out of the emotions, or let me tell you about my emotions. If you're telling me to be quiet and keep my emotions to myself, then that's why you're having these blow-ups. And then, of course, with the pandemic, all that was about, what happened? Fear came upon us. People losing their jobs, like you said, that caused depression. It's just a lot of fear on social media. And so it's the mental illness. For me, when you say mental, what is that? Mind, thoughts, what? Your
emotions, intellect, imagination.
Right.
See, as a human, you're going to experience in this human existence the full spectrum of emotions. We cannot expect to only have the happy emotions. We're surprised, excited, elated, joyful, peace, patience. No, some days you're going to have sadness, frustration, overwhelm, anger. The emotional regulation is what we all need to be able to understand, to process, and to live with. It means I am angry, and I'm angry in this moment, and so I'm going to choose. This is the EQ, the emotional intelligence, saying one, self-awareness. I am aware right now that you just did something to drive me nuts. Self-regulation then says, instead of throwing a bottle at your head, I'm just going to walk away. Then there is the empathy, recognizing that in this moment, I'm dealing with something, you're dealing with something. Got it. The social skills, knowing that I live in a society and I can't just act any old way that I want. Yeah, I've got emotions, they've got emotions, but my emotions do not give me the ability to act in a way that's antagonistic to our society. So when we're talking about emotions, we're saying, yeah, talk about your emotions. Learn how to process your emotions. Learn how to process your grief, your anger, your frustration, so that it doesn't jeopardize your entire life. That man has wrecked his life, his family's life because of one moment.
Mm-hmm.
One moment.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional regulation says, I'm angry and I'm gonna walk away. I'm angry and I don't know, especially in this world that is litigious and where everybody has a weapon, seemingly. I'm gonna walk away from this. All right, you're right. I'm at a place in my life where I value peace. So, there's this thing I think I saw it on Instagram that says, if a person tells me that 1 + 1 is 5, you're right. You're right. 1 + 1 is 5. Because do I want peace or do I want to be right? Our fixation with being right all the time is what is wrecking our society. Our obsession with I gotta be right, I gotta be first, it's gotta be my way, I can't walk away, you're not gonna punk me. All of those things are what's creating the arguments and the discord in our society. When you no longer care, all right, okay, you're right, 1 + 1 is 5. You move away because you choose peace.
Yeah, so he needed therapy, and he probably never did get that when he was younger.
And understand that he not only he didn't get it when he was younger. Now we have new children growing up that need to have emotional regulation modeled for them.
Mm-hmm.
The children that have tantrums in school, that act out in school, that didn't just come out of nowhere. Bad children aren't born. They saw it somewhere. So where did they see it? Children that throw tantrums because they don't get to be the point guard, they don't get to be the quarterback, they don't get to be first in line. You having a tantrum, but where did you learn that behavior? Even when I get a lot of parents telling me, what they want my child to be on ADHD medicine. They say my child has this, they say my child has that. I'm like, first, get them in a sport, because they likely have a lot of extra energy that they need to work off. Start there. After that, get them tested. There might be a learning disability, or they might be advanced and the class that they're in is boring them. Mm-hmm. So before you do any medicine, rule out all of those things. Mm-hmm. And then at you. Because if you start parenting at age 12, you miss 12 years of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think everybody needs a therapy. The parents, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been thinking about it. I really have been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Just to go. I mean,
therapy, though.
Ma'am.
Who is the therapist?
Come on out of here.
Yeah.
You said something, and I thought to myself, you're like, they're backed up. Psychiatrists are backed up. And I'm thinking, okay, all that they're getting from everybody dumping on them.
Right.
Yes. Who do they go to?
Yeah.
That's how parents feel.
It is compassion fatigue, caregiving fatigue. Understand, especially with our parents. Parents overnight went from being professionals to professionals, teachers, full-time teachers, full-time caregivers. Understand, in a traditional family unit, if mom, dad went to work, kids went to school, home, the dog was at home. Overnight, everyone is together. So when the divorce rate spiked, when, you know, domestic violence occurred,
Yes.
when children are fighting, it's like, man, I really don't know you. We've been getting along just because we've been apart. And so now it's like, okay, we've got to relearn each other, and this is different, and we have to do it while wearing masks, while being inundated 2020 with Kobe Bryant, George Floyd, a contentious election. We didn't have time to breathe. So what we're seeing right now is pandemic fatigue, compassion fatigue, caregiver fatigue, where we finally have some time to sit still and realize I am tired. I'm tired of hand sanitizer and mask and 6 feet and news and Discord. I'm tired. Over 2020, because of the work that I do, many people, their workload lessened. At the time, I was the executive director for a mental health nonprofit. My work increased exponentially. I was working all the time because the need was so great. From 2019 to middle of 2021, I also lost 11 people close to me.
Wow.
And I kept going and working.
Wow.
So come now the beginning of 2022, and I'm dealing with anxiety, dealing with panic, severe insomnia. Is that mental illness? Or Natasha, is it that you have not slowed down? You have not turned into you. You've been absorbing and taking in everyone's pain, and you haven't even dealt with your own grief. So that's what I've been doing. The compassion fatigue, this isn't even my stuff. This isn't even my, diagnosis. This is just the burden from carrying other people's weight. So sometimes it's not always a diagnosis. Sometimes it's just life stuff.
How did you let it go? I mean, who did you go to?
Yep. And your question about the therapist, every therapist should have a therapist. I think every coach should have a coach. So when I experience mental health symptoms, for me, after 20 years, it's usually a sign that there is some imbalance in my world. That I am not eating right, drinking water. I need to process some things. I have some anger, and there's a lot that has happened, for me over the last 2 years. And in April, I resigned from my job, and I've just been taking time for me for the first time in years, 5, 6, 7 years. I've been going at my pace. I've been listening to Natasha. I've been leaning into grief. Sometimes people feel that if I touch the grief, it's too large, it'll consume me. So I'm just going to ignore it a little while longer. And, I'll yell at my coworkers or yell at the children until I'm ready to deal with that. Well, I haven't been. I've been facing it and dealing with it. Done therapy, hypnotherapy. I have taken medication. And when I tell people about medication, especially if it's grief or trauma, what medication does for me is it buys me time. It buys me time by alleviating symptoms. So my biggest issue was insomnia. After you go 4, 5, 6 weeks without more than 3 hours of sleep, there's an issue. So the medicine that I was on allowed me to sleep, allowed me to rest, so I can recalibrate mentally and be able to develop the strategies that I needed to be able to reset. Many people need to reset, and they need to buy themselves some time. And we know that drug use has increased. We know that alcohol use has increased. All of those things are panaceas. They're not the true fix. They just buy people some time until the next day. What people really need is, therapy allows you to get out of your head for a moment with an objective party. It allows you to just say, listen, I don't know if this is going to sound crazy, but let me just get it out. When you don't know me, so I know you won't judge me. but you're going to give me the strategy. You may be able to say, okay, when you feel panic, do the 4-8-4 breathing. Inhale for 4, hold it for 8 seconds, exhale for 4. When I'm having a panic attack, I do the 5 senses. So I locate 5 things I can see. Okay, 4 things that I can touch, 3 things that I can smell, 2 things that I can hear, and let me put a piece of gum in my mouth, 1 thing that I can taste. And so that gets me out of that moment, and now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go again. Sometimes therapy is just, what's the coping strategies that you need right now so that you can continue to live your best life? How can you show up for yourself and for your family and for your community every day without the burden, without the weight of grief? Everybody doesn't deal with grief normally. Out of the 11 people that I lost, there are 3 that I just had a really tough time dealing with. And sometimes it's the circumstances of the death. It's if the death is sudden. We experience that. We grieve differently. I tell people, gift yourself 6 months of once a week therapy and go all in. At the end of that 6 months, if you say, you know what, it was good, I learned some things about me, but I can stop now, that's fine. But I guarantee that after that 6 months of once a week therapy, when you go all in, you're like, you know what, I'll just finish out the year, see what else there is. Because we don't know what we've been holding on to, what thing from 3rd grade, what thing from that boyfriend that we had in 11th grade, that rejection at work, that one comment in the 7-Eleven. We don't know what we're holding on to and all of the ways that it could be impacting us right now.
I think I'm going to do that.
Wow.
1 week
Wow.
in 6 months.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's, we think about it, 24 hours in a day, okay, times 7 days, 1 hour. Actually, it'll be 50 minutes. 50 minutes just for you, where you're not wearing any hats. You can leave your titles at the door, all of your roles, all of your responsibilities, all the expectations. In that session, no one cares about you coming. No one cares about what your name is or what do you need right now. That 1 hour just for you. And it is, traditionally women tend to go to therapy more often than men. But I'm grateful even this morning that I'm hearing that there's more men, especially more Black men that's been in the military, more Black men that are athletes, those macho law enforcement that are recognizing the benefit of talking, and representation matters. So when a veteran contacts me, if they've been in combat, I refer them to a therapist that has also been in combat. The nature of what you want to discuss should dictate what type of therapist you go to. If you have racial trauma, you do not want a therapist that is the race of the person that traumatized you. You want someone that can understand your experience. If you're in law enforcement, you want someone who is adjacent to or have been in that field because they'll understand your experience. The last thing you want is to go to a therapist and to be traumatized. And the last thing I tell people about therapy is approach it like dating. The first one that you go to might be a dud. You're like, man, I don't know what's this. But you don't give up. You don't stop. You don't say, I'm done with dating. I said, no, you try again. So if that first therapist doesn't work out, try again and get one that works for you.
Wow.
That's good. That's good information right there.
That's very good information. I think we're probably going to have a 2-hour special because I'm just like listening all. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a book that you tell us about your Provoking Thought book and how people can order it.
So it is on Amazon, and
Let's
if
see it again.
someone wants, If someone wants, let me make sure it's not blurring there. If someone wants an autographed copy, they can reach out to me on any of my social media and I'll send it to them. Provoking Thoughts, Volume 1, 101 Inspirational Quotes for Daily Life. I have journaled all my life. And when I journal, I get what I call divine downloads. It's just messages from, my God to me. And I write them down. They're in my journals. And I've been saying that I wanted to write a book for years. And one of my friends challenged me to write the book, to get it done in 1 month. So in October 2017, I took the entire month. I compiled 101 of the thousands of quotes that I have. I put them in a book. I shot this cover with my cell phone. Yeah, I took a picture, a selfie, and I was like, yep, that'll do it. Designed the cover, and I put it out because done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Done is better than perfect. And sometimes all we need is one win, one little win, to push us past the fear. All we need is one thing that's like, oh, that I did it. And now, now I'm writing again. I talk a lot about stretch exercises. And, I used to do a show on Facebook Live every Monday night. And I put myself out there because after years of being on TV and everything, I don't know why I was afraid to be back on camera again. So I'm like, no, Natasha, you're going to do this. You're going to put it out there and tell everyone that you're going to be live. And that's going to force you. And as soon as I did that first one, it's like, I was doing it every Monday for 3 years after that. So this was my first stretch exercise. And I'm actually working on another one right now. I just finished one. You all will be the first to know, called Jumpstart Your Happy. And that's going to be an ebook that I'm just going to give away to, it's free. And then later this year, my baby is coming out, which is going to be called Resilient. And it is developing the confidence to know you can overcome anything. Because I have, besides mental illness, I was septic and had organ failure last year. I had kidney failure in 2013. Lost 70% of my eyesight in 2009, almost drowned. I mean, I got stories, but it's the resilience. It's knowing that I don't care what comes my way. I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to get through it. And so that'll be coming out later this year.
Now, do you thank God for?
Wow.
There's no way for me to tell my story without God.
Okay.
There's absolutely no way. My relationship, my relationship with God, when I definitely knew that I had a connection was June 24th, 1986.
Okay.
And I was, I think I was 9, and I've always had a very, very strong connection with God. When in 2013, when I had kidney failure, the day I left the hospital, they were coming in to put me on dialysis and to, give me the catheter. But the night before, I had a vision. And God told me, if you stay here, you're going to die. So the next morning I woke up, I was dressed. Now, mind you, I've been sleeping in because I was on so many medications till noon. By 9 a.m., I was dressed, packed, and ready to go. I had lost so much weight, I had to be carried out of the hospital, carried into my apartment. But God told me I had to leave. So when I got home, I sat on my couch. I'm like, all right, God, what's the plan? I'm home now. They sent me home with prescriptions, but God told me to go home. And my kidneys are fine. Between lemon water and prayer and, juicing, I'm fine. Everything that I have overcome in my life, everything that's going to be in the book, Resilient, is connected to my relationship with God. And that is something that a therapist cannot give you.
Come on,
that is not something that a book anywhere. If you do not have developed your discernment and your intuition and your spiritual connectedness for yourself, life is going to be tough.
That's right.
You're always going to be struggling because you have to be. I tell people I trust God and my spirit more than I trust anything and anyone on this planet. If 500 people are running to the right and God tells me walk slowly to the left, I am walking slowly to the left.
I know that's right.
You better walk slow.
Right.
I'm here
I'm going
speaking
to.
to you all today because of my relationship with God. 2016, I had actually filed for Social Security disability because that's what I was advised to do. My mental health was in such disarray. They were like, listen, just go ahead and file. And I just had one more document to send in. And I just had to talk with God. I'm like, listen, for me, if I send this in, it means that I don't believe you can heal me. And I don't believe that my life can be better.
Come on.
And I wasn't ready to accept that yet. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go all in. Affirmations, prayer, meditation, intercession, playing with puppies, being out in the sun, omega 369. I'm doing everything. And I'm going to trust that it is going to be what is necessary for me to rebuild my life. Fast forward, I've lost count of how many TV shows I've been on. I'm lauded as a mental health expert in local media. How many people I've helped and counseled, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I've raised. Why? It wasn't just medicine. It was the faith first, and then it was my works. So your question, I can't tell my story without God.
Amen.
All
right.
Inspiring, very, very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely need to hear that. But the therapist, if we can get the therapist in the church, in the body of Christ, and that's why I asked, would they do it for free? I mean, do it you work unto the Lord anyway, and God will bless you anyway. So would they come in and do that? Of course, the pastor or however they do work that out, but would they come in to help on
I think some would. I think some would. It's just like, in churches that I've been in, there was, a nursing ministry. And so they, on that Sunday, they volunteered X number of hours. I think that's something that many therapists would be interested in doing. And I also think that our government, this is why I tell people it's important to vote. You got to vote in people who recognize the importance of funding, because adjacent to mental health is substance use. Pills.
Yes.
And it's not, there's no one on the planet who wakes up one morning and says, you know what, I'm bored today. I think I'm going to get an addiction.
Come on now.
No one says that. So when at the point that a person has an addiction, understand that they have been through something. They've either were in a car accident and injured their back so badly that they're in pain every day. And so they're drinking just to be able to fall asleep dealing with the pain. Or they've had a trauma. Again, trauma is the gateway drug. When you need to forget what you have experienced, you turn to anything. So adjacent to mental health is substance use. And from a government perspective, from a state, federal, and local level, we need to have the funding necessary for people to be able to get the support they need. It's got to be accessible, available, affordable.
Yes.
Because telling someone it's available, but they have to take 4 buses to get to it, that's not doing anything for them. So we got to vote people in office that recognize the importance of funding mental health care.
Classica, I want to say this. When you were asking about the therapists coming doing it for free, I think the challenge is, and not all, but I think it's a challenge for pastors, right? Because they're like, well, what am I here for, right? I'm supposed to pray and lay hands on you and you get healed. For some people, it could be a challenge, like having a therapist that comes in and sit down and mentor and talk to your people, and it shouldn't be, because
So is it more ego?
Yes.
Like the ego thing?
Yes.
Okay. Leaders in the church. God put me here. You know, this is my congregation, and this is how it goes. And not looking at, it's not a competition or ego. It's everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Yes, you're the overseer. Yes, you're the leader. Yes, you're the pastor. We're not negating that. But then go ahead and bring in that therapist that can help them so they can understand. And where you're, when you're teaching the word, and it's like, okay, I can understand that better. I can hear that differently, versus I can't hear you because, like she said, I'm stuck with the fact that I just lost a loved one, or for instance, those young people who saw that their coach get killed, like that right there.
Yes, those kids need counseling.
It shifted a community. You don't know how many kids were there. So it's not about competition. It's about how can we help each other.
What I tell pastors is, if you're intimidated or you've got an issue with a mental health provider coming in, then because mental health is health. The mind lives in the brain, which is part of the body. Let's just take a spiritual approach to everything. Let everyone throw away their glasses. Okay. Stop taking your diabetes medicine. Don't use your inhaler. Okay.
Right.
Throw away your cane and your crutches. Get out of the wheelchair. We're just going to take a spiritual approach to everything if we're taking a spiritual approach to mental health.
Right.
Because both ends, we can have Jesus and a therapist. In the same way that you go to church and still take high blood pressure medicine, or your eye drop, or you get your LASIK surgery, or you repair your hip, they're not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. And I think it's the ego, exactly what you say. Once we get the ego out of the way, then people can really be supported in the ways that they need.
Right. And it takes a village.
It does.
Not a chief. It takes the whole village participating.
It does. It's really, I say mental health is a team sport. It's a team sport. Parents have to be involved, the individual, the job, the coaches, the PTA, like everyone. We've got to get back to community. Humans thrive in community because we're relational beings. And unfortunately, our world is set up where the family dynamic has taken parents away from the home because of the need to make money. And this is where, when parents are absent because they've got to provide, this is where we need our coaches to step in. A couple times a year, I speak at a basketball gym. And it's all the basketball athletes, high school athletes locally. I speak to them and their parents just to check in, just to, check 1, 2. I've had parents say, yeah, he told me he doesn't want to play anymore. Or mom saying, should I put him on this medicine? Or I'm going to increase how many times he comes to the gym. Coaches have a hand in this. Faith leaders have a hand in this. Our elected officials have a hand in this. PTA, AAU, village. For us to create a next generation that is emotionally regulated, that is resilient, that is strong, that are productive members of society, it can't just be only the parents' job anymore. Our world isn't set up for that.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
You just have to have that support, like family. I mean, it goes back to the family. I'm talking not just the immediate family, but like the family, like the uncles,
Extended.
Yeah, there you go. The extended family. Like, if we can get the family together on one accord, then we can move forward. But I think that's where it's starting. It's starting there. The family is not on board. You hear the stories why this culture make it, but this one don't, because they're sticking together. It starts there. And so you got people in the family, and I'm just flowing. You got people in the family, like you said, if you have somebody that's depressed or whatever, oh, just suck it up. It goes back to the family. Or you have something happening to someone when they was young, raped, molested, whatever the case might be, and they tell you put it under the rug. It goes back to the family. So it starts in the point blank period, is what I'm trying to say. And if we can get the family on one accord, then it goes to the community. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, you're absolutely right. You know, again, benefit of therapy, when parents learn how to communicate, then they communicate differently to their children.
That's true.
Those children communicate differently when they go to school, when they're on the court, when they're on the field. But if a parent only knows how to yell and scream and threaten and curse, that's what the child is going to learn. I hear a lot of people sometimes talk about this generation. This generation doesn't, this generation can't, this generation's lazy. Well, who are their parents? Like they weren't hatched. They came from somewhere. So everything that we see in our children that is absent, the question is, why is it absent? Who is responsible for teaching it? So it's
I'm girl for that. Do you right? And we look at the generation now. We say this, and that, and I really do try to be careful and mindful not to blame the young generation, because it's gonna fall back on us, and then whoever before us. So it goes back to the family. It goes to the family. Grew up in the house. That's how you heard was hollering and screaming. That's what that is. So if you hear me hollering and screaming, that's where that came from. Family. Yeah. You hear somebody soft spoken, hi, or nobody didn't speak to each other in the house. They was quiet because it came from the family. That's true. It does. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm tired of the blame game. I'm tired of the blame game. Let's take accountability of us. Oh, I need to work on this. I do. I need to work on this. You need to work on that. You need to work on this. I'm just so sick of it. The parents, the coaches, this. Man, come on. Let's come together and get this thing together. And when we do get it together, don't be, you did this and you shouldn't did this and no.
Yes. It's conflict resolution.
I'm telling my story. No, let's fix this. Let's fix it. I'm tired of hearing the problem. Resolution. Let's fix it.
Yeah. Conflict resolution. Can we get together and share what bothers us about each other without the relationship ending?
And
can you just sit and hear? This is what you did that bothered me, without you storming out.
Right.
I'm going to sit and listen to what you say I do that bothers you. If the adults haven't mastered conflict resolution without fighting, screaming, hitting, and using weapons, what are we expecting the children to do?
Yeah,
they're going to model what they see. And to your point, families have traditionally discounted and ignored pain.
Mm-hmm.
In the family unit, in the church. So there's a lot of pain in families and churches because someone was molested, someone was touched, and they were called a liar.
You better
or don't say anything. You know what? He's a good man. It's a good church. He provides.
Right.
The pain, people are carrying pain. There's something called ACE, the ACE score, adverse childhood experiences. The greater adverse childhood experiences that someone encounters not only affects them emotionally, psychologically, but also physically. When a child is removed from their home, When a child loses a parent, death, witnesses violence, like what happened, last week. When a child, loses a parent, is abused, neglected, all of those things impacts them in their formative years. And if they don't receive counseling and therapy at that point, that's why we have adults that still act 16. They still have the mindset of a 16-year-old because they stopped growing when the trauma happened.
Right.
They got older.
What happened last week?
They got older. They got brave, but their mind, their emotional maturity stopped at 16. Stopped when they lost a parent, where they witnessed the violence, where they were molested, where they weren't believed. There's something called selective mutism. It's when people just stop speaking. And it's a psychotic trauma. It's when you're not being believed, when you don't feel heard. It's like a psychological response. You stop speaking. There are people that are talking, but they're not speaking. They're not sharing the pain. They're not emptying, their minds and their hearts with what has caused them so much hurt. So the first thing, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. A straw can't break a camel's back.
Right.
But if there's 50
a lot of straw,
then the straw will. Yeah.
I think I done found something you done said. I done got.
Shannon, you're muted.
This has been really good. Like, wow.
It's really good. I'm like,
this is excellent.
I be over here in my little old world, like they don't know what I'm dealing with. Okay. Somebody go.
And I'm like, for women, because we are caregivers, nurturers by nature, one of the things that I advocate for women to do is to carve out 1 hour or 1 day a week for you. Before you were a mother, before you were a wife, before you were a CEO, before you were all of the other hats and titles that you have, you still have you. Women, I have a group here in Florida called Women in Transitions. One of the things that a lot of women experience is that empty nester. When all the kids are gone and now it's just you and the husband, it's like, well, Dad, do I really know you? I don't know if I know you.
Look, I would do that. Do I even like you?
Right. And it's like, well, who am I now that I'm not packing lunches and going to basketball games or dance practice or cheer? Who am I besides this job that I stayed in for 20 years that I really hate? I spent 20, 30 years being an accountant, but I really wanted to bake.
Wow.
So now that's a mental health challenge, because now it's grief. It's like, God, I really wanted to be a dancer, but I went to school for business because my mom said dancers don't make money.
And grieving the time that you wasted.
Absolutely. That's not a mental illness, but it's grief. There's a mourning that has to happen. There are people who are getting divorced right now. Okay, well, what do I do? How do I date again?
Yes.
How do I, and even the self-esteem hit.
That's self-esteem.
Everybody different.
Everyone is different, true. Some people be like, I'm good.
Listen, on that first marriage, when I got separated, this weight came off. I was like, bada bam boom. I was so happy. No, it was actually because of what I went through. It was like, oh, I like this place right now. Like, and I would tell, and it's funny because we had to do the custody of the kids, right? So his days were Friday through Sunday. Listen, y'all, by Thursday, I was packing the kids' bag. And at the time, I had a little dog named Biscuit, right? My little Biscuit. So by Thursday,
Class till tomorrow. I just want to make sure you were ready. And so when they would leave on Friday, and at the time, that's when Scandal came out, right?
Mhm.
So they would leave on Friday, and then as soon as I closed the door, I kid you not, I'd look at Biscuit look at me, and right the way I have my because I have my own place, my couch and my chair. He'd jump up in the chair and he'd do his little circle and he'd sit. I had wine, I had popcorn, and I would turn.
Watch Scandal.
For me, it wasn't. I didn't grieve. It was just like, oh, I breathed.
Exhale.
Yeah,
Exhale.
I exhaled.
You exhale.
So then I get remarried to my husband now. So the other day when the house got quiet, because we have twins from my previous marriage, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man, the house is quiet. Then I started panicking because I was like, oh man, my daughter gone, my other son's gone, my other son's gone. I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do with myself? It started because then I thought, just turned 50, and oh man, everything started all of a sudden. You start thinking about what you didn't do, what you could have been by now, and it was, I had a moment. Now that day, I had a moment last week because it was just like reality here.
Yeah, it happens, and I think, especially for women, we need permission to know that it's okay to feel. It's okay to be self-centered, which is different than selfish. Self-centered means I am closing the bathroom door. Do not knock on it. This is my time. Or I am going away for the weekend and I'm just going to do a staycation in a hotel. Do not call me unless there's a fire, and call your dad or your grandmother, whatever. Let me have this time. I think sometimes women need to know that it's okay to take time for themselves, for them as a woman, because that transition of, all of the children out of the home, now you've got a whole lot of time. Well, what do I do? What are my hobbies? Many women don't even know what their hobbies are because their hobby has been their children.
Motherhood.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed you.
Yes.
I enjoyed you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. These are the conversations that need to be had, and I don't know, barbershops, salons. We need to talk, especially as Black people. We are an oral people. We speak. We pass down recipes. If we passing on recipes, we need to pass down how I got through.
Yeah.
How did I deal with postpartum? How did I deal with empty nester? How did I deal with, the blues after, someone died? How did I deal with navigating corporate workspaces?
Yeah.
When I'm expected to do all the work, but I get none of the credit. We need to have these conversations because, listen, we can't do it by ourselves.
No, we can't.
We need each other.
We really do. So tell everyone how they can find you or get in contact with you.
Absolutely. I'm everywhere on social media. Natasha Pierre Official, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. That's my favorite right now. My DMs are always open for anything related to mental health and substance use. That's it. I have to make that clear. DMs are open only for that. No foolishness. But I, reach out to me. I help in any way I can. I know how challenging it is to navigate the system of care across different states. And fortunately, I've lived in several states, so I'm a bit familiar. But I am always open to having these conversations, raising awareness, and getting people to care about their mental health too. This isn't just an other issue. If you live through 2020, 2021, and in 2022, You need therapy.
Yeah.
Because if George Floyd didn't do it, the election did it, or you lost someone from the pandemic. One of those three things, you need to be in therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
listen,
open now. It's more accessible. Like back then, you talk about therapy, it was like, oh no, something wrong,
Yeah.
But now, people are accepting it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Open to it, right?
Yeah, open.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
It is.
Absolutely.
And
I might
sometimes
be ringing you in your DM. Hey
That's
girl,
sure.
you remember Sports Mom Kawasha?
Yes. And sometimes it'll be helpful, for couples to go together, to go individually, to go as a family. It is whatever works. It's a resource.
Different levels.
So use it. If you have insurance through your job, you likely have an employee assistance program that'll give you 3 to 5 free sessions. Utilize them. Take your PTO. Paid time off is paid time off. There's no prizes for having 1,000 hours worth of PTO. Use your PTO. Go on vacation.
Yes.
Use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
well, thank you again for joining us.
you.
This was really good. Listen, you guys, like she said, get help. Don't sit there and let it compound. Get help. It's okay. It's okay to ask for help. I know Mama Yam told you don't ask for help. You don't never ask nobody for help. Listen, we're telling you, it's okay to ask for help. So don't just sit there. Don't just sit there. Go get help. So Natasha, thank you again for joining us. This is really, really good.
Thank you.
I've got a lot of nuggets from this for me.
Too.
Yeah.
Me
And
too.
you took your time.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yes.
You broke it down really good. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
Very thorough.
This is what I enjoy doing, and I know the depths of pain that I've experienced. And if I can spare one person from ever getting that low, then I'm in. I'm doing it.
All right, Karen, we see
Absolutely.
you, honey.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Natasha, we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
really good.
These are, there's a saying that when you educate a woman, you educate the family.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about it, and I'm going to keep talking and keep talking and keep talking, because the more that I do, something's going to click in someone. Sometimes it's not, your attitude isn't because you're a first child. Your attitude is because you were molested and you never dealt with it. Your attitude isn't because you're an Aries. Your attitude is because you are enduring an untenable workplace toxic environment and you need to get out of it. Your attitude is because you really hate your job and you want to do something to know that it's okay to launch. Sometimes it is just grief. Sometimes it's sleep. People are tired. So if there's anything that I share that makes you just pause and be like, wow, maybe there is something to that, put your energy and attention there, because you are worthy of feeling good, happy, rested, at peace every day of your life.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anything you need, definitely let me know. I appreciate being with you all.
Okay.
Natasha, beautiful spirit, inside and out.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the result of a lot of work. A lot of work.
Absolutely.
A lot of obedience.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of spiritual work as well. I think one of the hardest times of my life was right after I had a psychiatric hold, and my conversation with God, June 5th, 2015. I said, if you get me out of this hospital without having to stay here this 7-10 days, I promise I will trust you for my healing and for my health. I was released the next morning, and I remember I would go drive to to be there for 6 a.m. for intercessory prayer.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, if I can't pray for myself, I might as well just pray for other people. And I did that for months just because it gave my mind something to do.
Wow.
So it is sometimes when you want change, you got to be radical with it. And I was radical. So that's all what you're seeing.
That's it.
Yeah.
I need some of that.
Yeah.
I need some discipline, radical. I need that. I need therapy for that. Right there.
Well, that's the first step. The therapist will help you with strategies, and you get some homework. And it was last week. I woke up Monday and I realized, wow, I don't even know when I forgave. I don't know when the grief lifted. I don't know when. I just felt better.
It was gone.
It was gone. And I was like, you know what? There's no joy like the joy on the day you realize that you're over something that wrecked your soul.
Wow.
And I feel good. I feel good, man. I feel good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I know I can keep you all here all night. Thank you. You all have a wonderful evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow.
We had our 2 hours of therapy.
We did.
Right.
We did.
We had it. We had it for free.
Wow. For free.
And everybody that watched this show, they're going to
Got it
have
too.
therapy for free because she gave some nuggets. She gave some practical steps.
She did. I appreciate that. She
Yes.
hit it on the nail. Bam,
Yeah.
bam, 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 bam. Shut up.
All right. So, you guys, it is time for us to pause and hear our sponsor coming to advertise on the show. Let's take a few minutes to celebrate them.
It's your girlfriend Harris, former WNBA champion with the Houston Comets. It is finally here. Yes, the first novel set in the world of the WNBA. If you love Terry McMillan, if you love Eric Jerome Dickey and all his madness, then you will love Houston by Morning. It's a story of 4 characters, a baller, an agent, a television personality, and a coach. And the way their lives collide into one another is a beautiful mess. Pick up a copy now on Amazon Kindle or at HoustonByMorning.com.
Are you interested in becoming a sponsor for our show or even a guest? If you are a local business and need exposure of getting your product or services out to the public, send us an email at canwetalksports@gmail.com. Do you have a unique story to tell or want to share? Send us an email or reach out to us on social media at Can We Talk Sports. We can help to ship packages. Y'all know the party ain't over until we hear from Big Mama.
Yay.
What you got to say?
Come on, Big
Come
Mama.
on, Big Mama.
What you want? What you need?
Get out of order with this rolling. You ask mine.
Every little thing you want, every little thing you need. Keep it on yourself, my love, 'cause it really don't matter to me.
Hey, baby, my name is Cal Deroni Baker. Some people call me Big Mama, but as you can see, I ain't Big Mama, all right? I ain't 90 years old. I ain't about to clock out. My favorite football team is the team that won last Sunday, baby. That's how I roll. Amen? Because we do things decent and in order. Hey, babies, it's Mama Roni with another fireside chat for you. And this one's a little rough on Big Mama. Just read on the internet where this young man is going to prison probably for the rest of his life for one bad decision. Shot into a car, killed somebody. And now he's going to prison for the rest of his life.
You know, my mama used to say something that used to get on my nerves. I tell you, I declare, it used to get on my nerves. But she said it to me at least 2 or 3 times a week. And she would say, watch your crowd. I'd come home from school telling her something that these kids had done at school. And she would say, you better watch your crowd. And I was like, Mama, why are you always saying you better watch your crowd? You better watch your crowd. And she said, because I'll tell you something, if you hang around trash, you're going to start smelling like garbage. She said it's a lot easier to bring somebody down than it is to bring somebody up. Watch your crowd. And I know some of y'all out there spout off at somebody. It's easy to tell people what you think. It's easy to be disrespectful. You better watch your crowd. You need to pay attention to the people you're hanging out with. You need to make sure that the people you're hanging out with is going in the direction that you want to go in. Because if they're not, chances are you're going to follow in their footsteps. This one was hard today. Seeing too many kids going down the wrong path. Seeing too many parents going down the wrong path. We're going to talk about that in a future fireside chat. But I'm going to leave you with those 3 words. This is for parents, and these for kids and athletes and everybody all the same. Watch your crowd, baby. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you.
Wow. Oh my God. Big Mama. She is so funny. I just love Big Mama.
She will have you laughing.
Yes, she will.
Wisdom.
Love you, Big Mama.
Yes.
Shout out to Big Mama, guys.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I think we have had a great show, and I'm going to have to go and just sleep on it, y'all. I'm going to have to sleep on it.
Great
And
show.
so I just appreciate everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like and share. Tell somebody, tell your uncle, your auntie, all of those who like sports to come and watch this show. So you ladies, I'm just happy. I'm just happy. And I just appreciate you guys for tuning in and hanging in with Can We Talk Sports.
Yep. Everyone have a great
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another show of Can We Talk Sports. Did you know that Can We Talk Sports went to Bahamas? We have Bahama Mamas.
All right. For the course when there were mandatory lockdowns, so we weren't able to come out, we had to adhere to that. And they gave children opportunities to send them videos, and they have to do certain exercise at home. That's special aspect is very important. We want to make sure that our children, sometimes they do well in other things, but if they're spirit man, then we catch up. We can make sure that is very important. We can make sure that they are absolutely prepared to school.
That's something we know that the program that we're doing now is fitting in their mental state, not just the physical, mental. That's what we work on.